You did everything right. You got a great GPA from an Ivy League undergrad. You nailed the GMAT and got a 700 plus score. And you have a high paying, prestigious job from Goldman Sachs, Google, or something like McKinsey. By any account, you are the perfect MBA applicant. You send off your applications to your top schools, and you're just waiting for the acceptance letters to come in. But then something strange happens. You get a rejection email informing you that your top programs aren't looking to bring you on board. You're left sitting with rejection, and worst of all, you don't even know how you got here. The truth is that your perfect credentials may have been the very reason you were rejected. In today's presentation, we're going to uncover 5 hidden reasons why top MBA programs pass on candidates who look flawless on paper. In fact, top schools like Harvard Business have an acceptance rate around 10%. They reject thousands of incredibly qualified professionals. A number of those rejected have great GMAT scores, and they work at the same brand name employers that you do. It's a very strange paradox where you have a resume that looks amazing compared to other people, but for an admissions council who is reviewing resumes like this over and over again, it may just not stand out the same way. And this is a core problem. It's a misunderstanding of what the admissions committees really want. They aren't looking to build a class that looks exactly the same. They're building a diverse and dynamic classroom where students can learn from one another. At the end of the day, they're admitting people, not a resume. And it's your job to make sure that you're coming across as a person that can bring value to any MBA program. Let's get into the hidden traps that cause many perfect applicants to fail. The first and most common trap is presenting an application that is polished and has no personality. The problem is that your resume is perfectly formatted. It has all the jargon and all the language that makes you sound competent, but it doesn't allow the admissions committee to see you. It just sees another person using the same language that they've been reading day in and day out. What they want to see is somebody who's going to bring value to the program. Are you going to be a team player? Are you going to be able to work with your classmates in the late hours on a project that everybody's struggling with? Will you be supportive? Will you be empathic? And will you challenge others respectfully? Remember, admissions committees are reading thousands of applications a day, and all those polished resumes just tend to blend together. They see those brand names, but they don't see you. They need to see the person that's going to bring their unique perspective to the program. Reason number 1 leads directly into reason number 2, in that your perfect credentials can actually make you blend in. If you're an investment banker or a big consultant, then you're massively overrepresented in the applicant pool. It doesn't mean your background doesn't have value, but it does mean that you may not be as unique as you thought. It's not enough to say you worked on a high-profile deal. The other people applying to the school likely have as well. But what did you do as part of that project that made your experience unique? What value did you bring, and how did you work with others to accomplish that? To bring the point forward of an overrepresented applicants pool, think about the Harvard class of 2026, where Harvard reported that 18% of their incoming class came with a background in consulting, and 16% came from private equity. That's a significant portion of a very small class. If you share similar backgrounds, then think about the competition and what they're saying. The one thing they can't talk about is an experience that you had or an impact you made with your team. It's in your best interest to double down on that versus resting on your laurels and saying that you're from a prestigious consulting firm. If we double click on the differentiation challenge, it boils down to 3 key things. You have to acknowledge that you have a common background from many others in the applicant pool. The critical question is, what makes your experience unique? What stories can you tell? And when you're thinking about those stories, think about the human challenges that revealed your character or the way you lead teams. Prove your perspective is anything but common. If you can do that effectively in your application, then you're going to stand out to the admissions committee. Examples of stories could be something like, how did you handle a particularly difficult client? Or did you mentor a junior analyst in a completely different and new way that helped them bring value to the team themselves? Or did you start a grassroots initiative inside your firm that had nothing to do with your day job, but then still brought value to the company? Applicants who get in these backgrounds succeed because they find a way to tell a story that no one else can. They don't lead with, as an investment banker, I did. Instead, they might start with a story about a specific human challenge that reveals their character. They prove that even though their job title is common, their perspective is not. Now, every applicant has to answer one fundamental question. Why are they pursuing an MBA, and why now? A shocking number of high earners with fantastic credentials completely fail on this question. They'll give generic goals about pivoting from one industry to another, or tell the committee something specific about a passion plan that they have. They can't explain what kind of private equity they want to go to or why they want to pursue that industry. If it's not a generic goal, then it's a completely unrealistic goal. They want to jump from a tech finance to senior private equity with zero transaction experience. This is very difficult to do, and the committee knows that that's nearly impossible. It signals poor research and poor preparation on the part of the applicant and will help sink your application. The other component of a weak why is that your goals are just too small. Moving from product manager to senior product manager is something most people can do without an MBA. And so the admissions committee will be left wondering, why does this person need a 2-year, $250,000 degree just to fulfill a natural career progression? It just doesn't make sense. If we think about crafting a powerful why, then we can break it down into 4 easy steps. A great why connects past to future. It shows how your experiences logically lead to your ambitions. Tell that story and build that through line. You want to be specific, define exactly what you want to achieve and in the specific industry. You'll want to make sure you project your passion for that change and explain where that passion comes from. And ultimately, you need to tie it back to the MBA. How can the MBA degree help you achieve this goal? Be specific, because an MBA is not just a nice to have, it's a big investment. Ultimately, a powerful why connects your past experience to future in a clear and logical way that the admissions committee can understand and appreciate. This will help you stand out from the crowd. A reason number 4 as to why your application might fail, despite your perfect resume, is that you fail to show how you will contribute. High achievers are masters at listing accomplishments, and there are many of them. But in an MBA interview, it's different than being in a job interview. Programs aren't hiring employees, they're building teams. One of the biggest mistakes high performers can make is focusing their entire application on what they can get from the program versus what they can give to the program and the other students. Admissions committees are obsessed with contribution, and they want to make sure that everybody's in it for the same reasons. They want to know that your presence will make the experience better for everybody involved. So let's think about this. When you answer a question about success, just don't talk about the numbers. The wrong approach is to say, well, I increased sales by 40%. That's a resume line and doesn't belong in a conversation. The better approach is to say something more detailed, like I developed a framework that helped my team increase sales by 40%, and I learned how to coach others through big change. This is a story about contribution and leadership and will make you stand out in the crowd. Arrogance is the fastest way to get rejected. If your essays or interviews suddenly suggest you think you're God's gift to the program, then it's going to sink your application. Now, this final reason ties everything together. Top MBA programs see self-awareness and empathy as a critical sign of leadership. They want to admit people who understand their strengths and, more importantly, acknowledge their weaknesses and have a clear plan for growth. The trap that many people fall in is avoiding any mention of failure or weaknesses. Falling back on cliches or spinning failures into hidden successes doesn't work. What the admissions council sees is bravado and ego. They see a lack of real self-reflection and potentially a red flag when it comes to working in teams. True self-awareness is what matters. Honest applicants that address gaps proactively and discuss real failures and what they learn from them shows vulnerability and impresses admissions councils. Showing that you can be vulnerable and honest about your journey, including the bumps in the road, is far more impressive than pretending to be perfect. Now that we know the traps, the next question is, what do we do about them? High earners with a perfect profile need to avoid these traps, and that comes down to shifting your mindset. Think like a storyteller. Go beyond the resume. Your application is a narrative that reveals who you are. Spend time self-reflecting before you write your essays. Find what makes you different. Really dig deep. What experiences do you have in the business world, or even personal ones that you can talk about? And which of those shape your worldview? Bring all your hobbies and passions to life, because that helps you become unique. Like we broke down earlier, really laser focus on your why. If you have to, talk to people in your target industry to understand their way of their core beliefs to see if you share those perspectives. Refine your goals accordingly, and finally, embrace humility and vulnerability. For every achievement, there's a great story behind it. Be ready to talk about your influence on the team, and more importantly, the team's influence on you as you build those stories out. Be honest and talk about how you're working on yourself to improve and become a better leader. There's no question that getting rejected from an MBA program can be a jarring experience, especially when you have incredible credentials. But remember, it's not a judgment on your qualification. More often than not, it's highlighting a flawed strategy. But the good news is that now we know what to look for and we can transform our application effectively. You can go from being forgettable as part of an oversaturated application pool to undeniable, someone who's able to bring their authentic human self forward in a way that shows programs how they'll bring value. Remember, your achievements might have gotten you that high-paying job, but your humility is what's going to get you into a top program. If you're navigating the MBA admissions process and want more videos like this, then subscribe and check out this video right here, and I'll see you there.